All right, it's 7 o'clock.
Still running.
I'll go ahead and call to order the July 2nd Board of Zoning Appeals special meeting for the town of Pendleton. I'll do a roll call, starting to my left.
Robert Jones.
James King. Kyle Icorn.
Jenny Sisson.
Probably.
All right, everyone's present. We have a quorum. On your drive, review the minutes from the previous meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last week.
I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Old business, V 05-2025-01 for findings of fact for 6360 South 25 West.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Good.
Good. Well, I want to first start off by thanking you so much for adjusting your schedules and coming in here before the holidays and coming and being here for this special meeting. So really appreciate you all in doing that. So we just have the one old business. This is from our petition that we had heard back in May this year. This is regarding the property that was owned by Bradley and Jennifer Harris. They were seeking to have that detached garage, 2-story, ground floor was 2-car garage, and then the upper floor was that multi-purpose area. So for the findings of facts there, we have it outlined here. It's also in your Teams folder. All the criteria was deemed to be met by your board. This was to allow that height variance for a 24 5.5 inches versus the 18 feet height maximum for that structure. So in that, if you have any questions about each of those criteria, we can go over those in detail. But did want to also bring to your attention, we did have a few nearby neighbors that did attend that meeting. That is also incorporated into the findings of facts here. We did not had resident Jack and Janice Radford, this property to the north. They came to learn about the petition. They asked some questions, but they did not present any opposition to the petition. Then we also had Bob Mingle. He had brought to our attention the covenants that was filed, and they were actually filed in 2001. After the meeting, we were able to obtain a copy of that covenants. And in that covenants, there was a restriction, not on the height, but it was in regards to the square footage. He came and just wanted to bring that to our attention. So that was stated in the record, but also it was deemed that covenants was not binding or a matter to be addressed by your board. So your board did vote in favor of the petition, and wanted to also mention too that it was approved based on not only the findings of facts, but also the discussions that were taking place that evening, and with no conditions. After the hearing, we did work with petitioners quite a bit, getting some materials and some understandings to them. They are actually seeking advice, and what we did learn is that those covenants are intact for 25 years initially. So this runs it into 2026. And then from there, if there is no amendments to those covenants, then they are enacted in for additional 10-year increments then after that. So they are working with council and their nearby neighbors that there may be an amendment made to this if they do agree. So that may be forthcoming for them, but that is something that will be outside of the Board of Zoning Appeals and the action that you took and the ruling that you made. So do you have any questions on the findings of facts specifically as what was outlined based in your ruling?
It's typically findings of fact, but does that mean the project's on hold for now?
They do not have to on our side. They can move forward with a building permit, but they are so choosing to hold off. They would like to have, just as respect and courtesy of their neighbors, they want to have a decision made that they're comfortable moving forward, that everyone will be in support of. So they've chosen to put it on hold. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll sign those after the meeting.
Yes, that's right here.
We can move on to new business, V 07-02-2025-01 land use variance to allow dwelling on the ground floor as compared to upper floor only in DB 201 East State Street.
We have petitioners here tonight. It's Taylor and Lindy Metz. They are here present this evening to answer any questions, add any additional comments as they would wish. They have met all of the filing requirements, that is including that notification that they are required to uphold. And as well, I want to let you know that we as a town have not received any feedback, input, response letters or whatnot from the public, both either in support or in opposition to this petition. This particular parcel, Stephanie, if you want to go ahead and go on down to the next slide here. As far as current use and site details, yeah, there we go. This particular parcel, there are additional images in your Teams folder that has a little zoomed out image of the location here. But you will see here where this parcel is highlighted in yellow. It is between Broadway and Bozell Funeral Home there to the east. This particular parcel is a little bit over 0.2 acres. It is used and has been used here in the last couple of years for an additional space for their educational purposes for Acton Academy. They are owners of Acton Academy at Fall Creek. And here in the last year or so, they have been very fortunate to be able to utilize a facility that's larger, just right to the north. We'll show that here in the next slide. But they have grown and their students are now occupying that facility. And so here recently, their students, as they've been able to renovate and improve the building there to the north, they no longer need to use this home, what we always call like the yellow house here. So as you know, that they have in the last couple of years, they've made a lot of investments in renovating this building here that we're going to talk about tonight. This area, you'll see the dark hot pink, dark areas are the downtown district, the downtown business district. And then the lighter pink shading there is what we call the residential core conservancy. And that is a residential area around that downtown area. Stephanie, if you want to go ahead and move to the next slide. So what they have filed here and what they're asking for approval from your board is that our zoning ordinance for the downtown business district allows residential on the upper floors. It requires that commercial use down on the ground floor, but limits that residential dwelling to the upper floor. And in the change and the availability for this space to now be utilized in seeking a commercial use, they have not been able to find a commercial tenant for this space. As you all know, that this home was built, it is a residential structure, residential from history. Looking back at our oldest zoning district maps, it has been in the downtown business. However, it has been used for several years as residential use. They are seeking to allow that upper floor residential use, which is permitted by the zoning ordinance, but they're asking for permission to be able to have a land use variance. So a land use variance, it does not change the zoning district, but what it does is it gives an additional land use allowance for this particular parcel. If this is approved, it runs with the land. So it doesn't change with ownership. It doesn't change, with land use. It would, this would be a use that from here forward, unless there was any type of material change or petition to come back in front of the board, it would be able to allow this use. And what they're asking is having residential use on the ground floor as well. There would be no changes absolutely to the exterior. It would still be maintained as it is. And to be able to keep this space activated and not wanting it, to be a vacant property, they have come in contact with an individual that would like to be a tenant of this space. This individual is self-employed. They are a home-based marketing company, as well as they have like a craft business that they currently operate. So they would like to occupy this space, and we appreciate their full transparency and honesty. They would also be utilizing the down floor for that commercial use. It would not be a use that would be open to public, but yet it would allow this individual to operate their business using the space downstairs, but yet also would need, because this tenant has 3 children, they would want to also be able to use that downstairs kitchen and living space for their personal use as well. And in learning the limitations of the dwelling for the downtown area, they were with the understanding that residential use could be used on both floors. And in learning that that it is limited to the upper floor, they quickly came into the town, met with myself and staff, and went through the proper channels. And that's where we wanted to be able to, because they were already under contract with this individual and moving in July 1. We spoke with our legal counsel, Dinsmore. We consulted with the chair here, Kyle Eichhorn, and felt that it was best to try to expedite this hearing. So then that way we can see if we can get a ruling on this matter as quickly as possible. So that being said, Stephanie, if you want to go on to the next slide here, we have our staff analysis that I can go through here, and then we can open up if you have any questions for myself as well as petitioner. So the function of the planning staff is to analyze the petition against the approved relevant plans and ordinances, as well as any existing conditions and or variances placed upon the site, to present those facts and analysis. And based upon that analysis, we'd like to provide the following comments. This proposed land use, we do not feel that it would be detrimental to the public health and safety or general welfare of our community. This structure was originally built as a single home, and it borders that downtown district. It's not right here in the main corridor here at Pendleton Avenue and State Street, where it's heavily commercial uses. It is close in proximity to residential as you go down State Street to the east. It is more increasingly used as residential, as well as even on the south side of the road. If you look at the downtown district, and there are also maps in your Teams folder there, you will see that there are multiple residential uses in the downtown area. Matter of fact, we looked at those, and there are about 14 that utilize dwelling on the ground floor. And those are mostly on the exterior, just where this subject property sits as well. But then even in the midst, we even have right up over here at North Pendleton Avenue, residential homes that are within the commercial settings. The comprehensive plan, and looking at that, it does have it listed within that downtown district as well, but that the intent and the objectives of the comprehensive plan for the downtown is to promote residential redevelopment and infill in that historic residential area. If approved, this, again, being an additional allowance for land use on this property, would be limited to single-family dwellings. So that would be like a long-term, that would be more than those 30 days of rental use or a permanent single-family use. It would not be a duplex for upper floor, bottom floor units. It would not be multifamily or short-term rental. If you look at the land use table for downtown district, it has a conditional use for multifamily or short-term rental, but they are not seeking that. They are just seeking straight single family being long-term use. So that would mean for a long-term rental or a single family occupancy. Again, this variance would not negate them from being able to at one day be able to bring in a commercial use for this structure. And this parcel is surrounded by similar uses. There's a lot of mixed uses in the area. We've got a property that has residential right across the road on the upper floor, commercial down below. And again, there in the east corridor here off State Street, there's a lot of residential areas. There also is private parking, which is very maybe not always common and not required in all areas in the downtown area. Those On-street parking is what is utilized for a lot of our residential areas, but for this particular parcel, it has at least a minimum of 3 parking spaces that can be used for that tenant or the occupant of that home. And property owners, we also wanted to point out that they are local here. And there is also our code enforcement, such as in Sightly, that we have as mechanisms to make sure that this property continues to be well maintained as it always is. That is all of our comments there, but I would more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Also, we want to give the Mets an opportunity if they have anything that they'd like to add as well.
I guess if there's any questions for staff, and then we should open a public hearing, is that right?
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, it's 7:16. I'll open the public hearing for this matter. Is there anybody present or online wishing to speak? Anyone here?
You do a good job.
Denise did a good job.
All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:17. And so is there any questions for the petitioner or? I think it seems pretty straightforward. We can go through the criteria here if we're ready to do that.
I'm good with that.
All right, so the staff presented a pretty good case here and gave us a lot of good bullet points. We'll just step through each of the 5 criteria. The first one being the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. So this being a single-family residential structure.
And being used as such.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It's not changing on the exterior. It's not, yeah, it's being used as a house because it is a house. So I think it meets that criteria. Are there any other discussion?
I got back up on one
Sure.
question, Kyle, if I understood correctly on your presentation, which was very good, Denise, on crafts and things they plan to sell
Mhm.
out of there. Is there any plans for any kind of food service?
No, I believe it's all, is it artisan?
It's
type?
wholesale sold online. It's
Okay.
not open to the public or no food.
Okay,
That's
you
it.
don't have to get any kind of food service
Nope.
from the health department, anything in
Nope.
that regard.
No.
Thank you.
Good question. Move on to number 2, the use and value of the adjacent area to the property will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. I think that was thoroughly discussed. It's kind of a transitional area between the downtown business and the residential areas. There's already other properties in the DB zoning being used in a similar manner, so I think it meets that criteria. The need for variance arises from a condition peculiar to the property, and so this is a property that is a historic single-family home that's kind of caught in this DB area. So I think that is a particular condition. The strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship. And so you've got a single-family home that's meant to be occupied on both floors, and the zoning ordinance prevents that. And so that does create a hardship to use the property as it's been constructed. And the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan. I think staff did a good job covering that. This comprehensive plan promotes residential redevelopment and infill in the historic district. So I think that fits, I think it, based on staff's discussion and our discussion here, it meets all 5 criteria. Okay. Is there any other further discussion before we entertain a motion? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve V0702-2025-01.
I make a motion to approve V07022025-01.
We have a motion.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And meeting adjourned. The meeting for July 15th is canceled.
That is correct, yeah.
All right, we'll see you in August.